Update: yesterday wasn't a good day. He slept most of the day and then did yard work. I knew he wanted space, so I didn't bother him. We exchanged only a few words during the day. After our daughter went to bed, I asked him how he was doing. He replied, "Not good," and mentioned he didn't want to wake up today to his new life. He expressed uncertainty about wanting to reconcile, as his gut was telling him otherwise. I then mentioned that he shouldn't settle for me. I didn't know what else to say. I asked him to please continue giving me a chance to prove that I don't want to be the person I was for the past 7 months. Last night, he admitted that he still hasn't accepted that I had an affair. He explained that accepting it would mean dealing with it, and he would rather avoid that. He suggested I start thinking about divorce, what I want, how much money I want from him, etc. I expressed my desire to think about trying to reconcile. He emphasized that the biggest issue is custody of our daughter, as he doesn't want just weekends. He mentioned contemplating ways to hurt me, but ultimately doesn't want to see me hurt. As we stood up, he admitted that even in that moment, he wanted to kiss me, acknowledging the messiness of his thoughts. I suggested it might be because he still loves me, but he shook his head, expressing doubt, questioning how he could after what I did to him. I yearn for him to consider working on us and rebuilding our relationship. However, I understand it's not my choice, as my horrific actions have placed the fate of our future together squarely on my husband's shoulders. Update: yesterday I sent him a text about how I saw him the day before, complimenting his body and describing how I stared at him from the window. I debated whether to send it, unsure if it might upset him. I chose to be honest about my feelings in that moment. He responded with some angry texts, which I expected and understood. We both attended our individual counseling sessions last night. After mine was over, he inquired about whether I liked my therapist, and if I could genuinely talk to her. I shared my positive feelings about her, and he expressed satisfaction with his new therapist, which pleased me. Later, he asked if we could talk. Before I had a chance to respond, he apologized for his angry texts, explaining he didn't know how to interpret my message. He felt it was out of character for me, and questioned if people on forums were advising me on what to do or say. He requested that if I engaged in such actions, they be genuine and truly reflective of me. When it was my turn to answer, I reassured him that he didn't need to apologize, acknowledging the range of emotions he must be experiencing. I affirmed the sincerity of my text, explaining it reflected my genuine feelings in that moment. I disclosed that I had received advice on building love credit through compliments and gestures, but assured him any actions I take would be authentic, reflecting what I would normally do. I mentioned working on another timeline, delving into the emotional aspects of the affair. He then asked what I would have wanted if I had given him the compliment in person that day. I detailed my expectations. He inquired about the challenge of not having sex, and I shared conflicting feelings, wanting physical contact, but understanding it must be on his terms. He then suggested we lay down together for a while. I eagerly agreed, following his lead. Initially hesitant, he allowed me to snuggle against him, and we both experienced a sense of calm and peace. Although it doesn't guarantee reconciliation, in that moment, we felt like us again, and I'm grateful for any chance to rebuild. I have never seen my husband as a monster, nor could I. I know what to expect, tons of emotions from him ranging from sadness to anger to numbness to maybe some moments of happiness. I am not afraid when he gets angry, and I won't be when the anger truly does hit. I know what I have done to him, and he has every right in the universe to be angry. I will sit here with him and listen and apologize. As far as the physical with the AP, I have shared the truth with him. I know he will never believe me because I lied to him for 7 months, and I will be lucky if he ever trusts me again. I have appreciated everyone's advice, whether they were good or bad. I know this isn't easy for people to talk about, especially the BS who may relive his or her experience when replying to a comment. Today would have been our 15th wedding anniversary. I wrote him a letter, but I don't know if he read it. He left it on the kitchen counter. I did not say happy anniversary in it. I won't see him until around 4. I have no idea what to expect or do. Should I just stay in the guest room all night so he doesn't have to see me? Do I sit on the couch and wait to see if he wants to talk? Do I ask him if he wants to talk? I have no clue. To say today has been a roller coaster would be an understatement. This morning, I left him a letter for our anniversary expressing my love, gratitude, desire to work on us, and admiration of him as a dad. I found it on the counter, unsure if he read it. After sending a quick text summarizing the letter, I received no response, leaving me feeling like a zombie. Around 1:30, he emailed me a letter about what our anniversary should have been, and mentioned taking our daughter out to dinner. My heart tightened as I read his words, and I couldn't focus on anything after that. I left work and went home. About an hour later, he came home and attempted to print the letter, finally sitting down with his arm around me. The first emotional loop on the coaster hit. We both cried without saying a word, hugging tightly. The emotional loop continued with staring into each other's eyes, crying, hugging, apologizing, kissing, and more crying. When our daughter asked why I was crying, he explained it was our wedding anniversary, a day full of emotions. She joined us, and the second emotional loop hit as we held each other. This loop intensified as I realized the gravity of my actions, risking our family for a terrible mistake. We held our little girl, cried, and stared into each other's eyes. He shared that last night he contemplated saying goodbye but couldn't. The third emotional loop hit when he asked if I'd join them for dinner, and we played games in the car, feeling like the perfect family. Holding hands, playing and holding each other, we celebrated, acknowledging that he won't make decisions until at least the end of September. We stopped at Dunkin' Donuts for dessert. Now he's outside pushing our daughter on the tire swing, a nightly ritual. I asked if we could lay next to each other again tonight, and he agreed. I don't want this day to end. The three of us watched our wedding video. He cried a lot as he heard us reading our vows. We then sat in the living room, and I apologized for breaking my vows, and he apologized for not protecting me as he vowed. I told him he had nothing to apologize for. We kissed a lot, stared into each other's eyes, and he picked me up, carrying me to our room like our wedding night, over the threshold. We fooled around, no sex. The day ended much better than I thought it would when I woke up yesterday morning. But then today happened. I came home from work to see that he had read the timeline I was writing, which I wasn't done with. I went into the room where he was and asked if he wanted to talk. He then said he also read my journal, where some of my reasons were written down. He apologized, realizing he shouldn't have read it. I reassured him it was okay. He mentioned that he knew yesterday wasn't real, what we felt. I pleaded with him, emphasizing that our emotions were genuine because we love each other. He suggested I was only doing this because I didn't think I could survive alone. I clarified that surviving alone would be incredibly challenging but necessary for our daughter. He found my response nonchalant. He asked detailed questions about the night I had sex, which led to some discomfort and tension. His friend's arrival concluded our talk, and he went to bed without saying anything after a day that started so great, but took an unexpected turn. Update. It's been a very sad, quiet, confusing, crying, don't know what's going on type of weekend. Today, I read him two things that I wrote, one about how he is a far better man than any I have ever known, and the other, an apology thank you letter for giving me a chance. We then talked for a while, discussing things from our past that he questioned why we were still together. He reiterated that he hasn't made a decision and is not in the right headspace to do so. He needs to figure out if he can survive without needing me but wanting me, or if he can survive without needing or wanting me. I expressed the hope that he can realize he wants to be with me, not out of need. I told him that if he ever feels the desire to be close or touch, I'm right here. After our conversation, he mentioned he was going to lay down, and I could hold him if I wanted to. I, of course, went and laid down next to him, holding him. I rubbed his back, arm, and face, taking in his smell, wishing I could just kiss him. It took a while, but that did end up happening. Now, I go back to proving to him that I will not be giving up on us. Update. Sunday night, we were really intimate. I knew right after he felt guilty and disgusted, in himself and me, I'm sure. He took our daughter to dance last night, and when he got back, he gave me a letter. He said it was about how he felt after last night, that he basically just dumped his feelings onto the paper. In it, he questioned himself. What is she picturing? Am I doing it wrong? Was he better? Why are you all of a sudden attracted to me? Will it ever feel special again? He then wrote how he felt tremendous guilt afterward. Guilt for his failure as a man and husband. Guilt for giving himself to me last night. Guilt for being with me, a cheater. He wanted to know if I was using him, using SX as a way to control and calm him. I wrote a response letter. I didn't know if he wanted one or not. I answered each question truthfully. I told him I wrote it, and that he could read it, or I could read it, or we could just talk. He read it later. I told him that I was picturing him, that I always picture him. I told him that I have never seen him as useless, and that he is not my plan B. I explained that I'm not all of a sudden attracted to him, that I'm trying to make up for all the times that I wanted to have sex, but was too afraid to initiate, fearing he would say no. This confused him because he never knew he said no before. It was years ago, but the rejection from my husband stuck in my brain and held me hostage to my own desires. I don't know how else to explain. I didn't write it to blame him at all. I was explaining why I had a hard time initiating. Well, He immediately blamed himself, he said. Another thing I did in the past that has stuck. I told him that I wasn't using SX to calm or control him, that I just want to be intimate with him, sitting next to him, holding hands, hugging, any physical contact. I said that no matter how many times I wish in a day to take what I did back, I just can't. But I can show him how unbelievably sorry I am, how much I love him, how much I want to be with him, how I truly desire him, his company, heart, body, his everything, and how I won't give up on us. After he read it, he spoke for a little, and I listened. He asked if I felt those same things after what he did 6 years ago. He asked if I enjoyed Sunday night. He said that it did feel good for him, for the few moments when he was able to push out the bad thoughts and mind movies. He said he was picturing me touching him. He then asked if I would ever want to be intimate with him again. I obviously said yes. He sat for a few more minutes and then said, "Forget it." He said he may as well feel good for a little while. This time I didn't jump up from my seat. I sat there for a second looking at him like, "Are you sure you really want to do this?" I did get up because he wanted it. We both have our therapy sessions tonight. I don't know if we will talk afterward or not. I'm really looking forward to the day where something I say doesn't make him feel like I'm blaming him, like when he read my second timeline. In it, I wrote how I felt like we lost him when he was playing his Xbox for 6 hours a day after work. He took that as me blaming him. I tried to tell him that I was writing how I felt at the time because I thought he wanted to know how I felt throughout the affair. I said I wasn't blaming him. I haven't blamed him once. I keep telling him that my F-up choice to have an affair wasn't his fault. He's reading these books that are just making him feel like shit about himself. His words. Since he doesn't believe anything I say, he may keep blaming himself partly for my affair. How do I stop that? Update. Yesterday morning, I asked him if I could lay down with him for a little bit. As soon as I put my head on his shoulders, I started to cry. My heart felt at that moment that I was going to lose him because of me. I told him that I knew he was going to end up asking for a divorce. He didn't say anything. I laid there a little longer and then asked him if I was right. He said he didn't know. After a little while, I went to get up. He hadn't said anything or moved, so I felt like me being there might have been bothering him. When I was about to get up, he put his hand on my back. I laid back down, snuggling right up against him. We ended up laying together for 2 hours. I felt him start to fall asleep. Lol. I always knew when he was falling asleep because his body would do these little twitches. It was nice to feel that again. It was nice to feel that he was comfortable enough to fall asleep with me again. He told me not to give up on him yet. I said that I won't. He then asked me what I felt at that moment. I said, calm, happy, and worried. I asked him the same, and he said, safe. I must have let out the deepest breath ever. In that moment, he felt safe with me. He asked me not to keep how he makes me feel from him anymore. He asked me to work on dealing with my fear of rejection from him. He asked me to do things when I wanted to, or at least try. Touch him, tell him how I feel, go for a kiss, etc. I should still ask him if it's okay to do those things sometimes, but not be afraid to ask. I took his cues and started kissing him. After I asked him if he wanted me to get him lunch, and that I would take our daughter to a store because I needed to buy some new work clothes. I then asked if he wanted to join us. He actually said sure. We all went shopping and then grabbed some lunch to bring home. It was a very nice Sunday. For those minutes, he felt safe. I will take that as a big win for the day. I hope he can feel safe again and more often. Baby steps. In the process of buying a new car right now. I had to get rid of mine since it was part of the affair. I feel like complete shit for getting this new car. I know he sees me as having no physical consequences, and it does look like that. He sat here with me helping out, making sure I didn't get screwed over. Update. He doesn't think I'm remorseful, nor does he know what remorseful should look like. When I asked what I should be doing, he said he doesn't know, or if there even is anything I can do. What are ways a WW shows remorse? He wants actions, which I thought I was doing. He said if it were him, he would be flipping grateful to be allowed another chance. That really pissed me off because I am absolutely grateful and say it all the time. No, I did not yell at him. I asked him what he would do. He didn't know. I said I would want to be near you, touch you, hold you, kiss you, say good morning, good night to you, have little conversations with you. I then said, I want to do all of those things. But I read your body language, and most of the time it seems like you don't want me anywhere near you. Again, he said he doesn't know what I should be doing. Neither do I. He said some more things and gave me a journal entry, and it felt like I ripped my own heart out, drained the blood from it, and put it back in my chest. After reading it a couple of times and hearing him talk, I realized that I needed to say what I have been fearing. I told him I'm not leaving the house now, but I will spend some nights in the guest room and spend the weekend days at my dad's if he wants. Silence. I told him that I couldn't say the exact words, but if the only way he can be happy again and not miserable anymore is if then we can, because I don't want him to be miserable for the rest of his life. I could barely get those words out. He put his head down and said that was me being the bigger person. He said he doesn't want the only way to hurt me would be to hurt himself too. He said if we divorced, he would still be miserable. I reminded him that he told me not to give up on him yet, so there has to be something inside of him that doesn't want to give up yet either. He was quiet. Before he went to bed, he said, "For every one good moment we feel, I feel 100 more bad moments." He then texted me at 4 a.m. apologizing for something he said and did earlier when we were talking. "Sorry for the multiple posts, but thoughts keep coming. I don't know how the hell I did any of this. I don't know how I went along with having an affair. I don't know how I destroyed my husband and family. I don't know how I thought those 6 months. I don't know because that's not who I ever was. I think about it every single day. I'll find myself in the middle of a lesson or conversation or driving, and my mind stops and thinks, how the heck did I do that? I then think, my husband is in so much pain because of you. How could I do that? I told my therapist that on Thursday. She said it can take a while to understand. I'm a person that looks for a reason in everything. So the fact that I can't figure out my own reason. I hate myself. I know that I will never forgive myself. I know that there will never be a day that will go by where I don't think about what I did. I know that I will never truly be happy with myself. I know that I am messed up. Shame spiral. I do not blame what happened in the past for my actions. I could have left after all the hurtful, but I didn't want to. I forgave him even though he never apologized. I didn't want to be without him. My husband is only 42 days out from D-Day. He was a man who pretty much had everything he wanted, and I took that all away from him. Yes, while he still has the physical things, he's in so much pain that he doesn't find the enjoyment in them right now. For the emotional things, his pain has made it impossible for him to think that there's a chance he can feel that again, and that we can still have that. His job requires him to fix problems all day long. He's so great at it that his coworkers often call him when he's off to help them figure out the problem. He told me that if he could blame himself for my affair, then there would be something that he could fix, and he could save us. It would be so easy for me to lie and blame it on him, but I can't do that. I can't make him think that my choices were because of things he did. I can't make him believe that about himself because it's not true. I wish I could make him feel good about himself again. I wish I could make him trust, in general, again. Right now, the only way he thinks that's possible is if we divorce. So, I swallowed my pride, the very tiny piece that's left, and said we can do that if it means he can be happy again. He said he would still be miserable if we divorced. So I stay right here and try my hardest to show him that he can be happy again, and not miserable 24/7 with me by his side. Hopefully, I try to help him see that he can find joy again in the things he used to do. I try to help him. I know the ginormous elephant is the fact that he came to me twice with his worries and concerns, and I lied right to his face. I think that will be the deal breaker, and I don't blame him. I understand it. He opened himself up to me, became vulnerable, and I lied right to his face, because I was scared and selfish. I know it's the WW handbook to say we only had sex once, but that actually is the truth for my affair. As for the fooling around, my top was the item of clothing that ever came off. Again, I know most won't believe that. I know he needs time. I am not trying to rush anything. I have never said or would ever say to him, "Get over it already," or, "I already said I was sorry, what more do you want from me?" In How to Help Your Spouse Heal, those were things the unsuccessful rebuilders say. I am not one of those. He has every right to feel any and all emotions. He has every right to take however long of time he needs. I'm just scared. We're both scared. Update. He just told me about a conversation he had with our daughter the other day. She asked him, "Are there lucky mommies who don't have any kids?" He was very confused about what she said, so he asked her to clarify. She repeated her question, and he reassured her that all mommies are lucky to have kids. Puzzled, he inquired why she asked that, and she explained that she knows she isn't always nice to me and says mean things. He comforted her, emphasizing that I am very lucky to be her mommy. My heart stopped. My daughter thinks that I don't love her, and that I find being her mommy awful. He said he didn't tell me to hurt me, that he would want to know if she ever said that about him. He suggested I talk to my therapist about it. I always felt like a failure as a mom. That just solidified it. They would absolutely be better off without me. She would have her dad and my dad, and they would have her. Yes, I am going down that path in my head. The thought has always been there. He's taking a nap right now, so I can't talk to him about this. I don't have therapy this week, so that will have to wait until next Monday. My therapist made me realize that I have very little self-worth and rely on what others think of me. It is absolutely true. My BS thinks I am a heartless piece of shit with no soul and no ounce of goodness. That's what I see now when I look in the mirror. He's known me for 17 years. He knows me better than I know myself at times. If that's what he sees, then it must be true. That is what I am trying to fight against, because I never saw myself as that. Then I feel bad that I don't want to agree with his opinion of me. I know this is just the beginning of this roller coaster, and I am already closing my eyes tight, ready to scream in fear. That scares the hell out of me too. I am on this roller coaster for the whole ride, but I am also hurting. I inflicted his pain in my own. This forum is the only place I can talk about it, because I don't want him to think that I believe my pain is more important than his. Because I don't. Last night I told him how I felt after I heard what my daughter asked him. He said he understood, hopes I can get help, and told me to get out of my woe-is-me feeling. He then told me that we will be divorcing. He has been on that side for 2 weeks, and his feelings haven't changed. I begged for him to give us a few months to see if he has happy moments. We went back and forth. He did admit that he still loves me and wants to be with me, but he won't let himself. He won't let himself because that would mean he is being stupid. I stuck to those words and kept begging. Hearing him actually say the words, "We will be divorcing," I could feel my body crushing down on me. Update. Lately, I have been waking up with a huge sense of fear. Weeks ago, he told me that he wouldn't make any decisions until October 1st because he didn't want me to focus on that while just starting a new job. As the date gets closer, I'm getting more scared. I wake up with my heart pounding and feeling terrified. I know I caused myself to have that feeling, but it still sucks. This morning, I was close to calling in because I could feel an anxiety attack coming on. He is supposed to go on a work trip in October. Will he have papers written up before, or will he hand them to me when he returns? Will he change his mind while he's gone? Will he just be thinking that I'm cheating again while he's away? Will we go the whole week without speaking to each other? All questions I have no answers to or control over, I know. I screwed up Monday night. I got upset that he didn't show me pictures he took with our daughter the other day. He unfriended me on FB, so I had to see them there. I got upset because we have always shared pictures with each other of our daughter. If one of us did something with her while the other wasn't present, we would send them so we could see it. He told me he doesn't have to show me anything because that's his time. I had just shared with him how I was having those awful thoughts, and I was very depressed. It definitely pissed him off. I quickly stopped and apologized for getting upset about it. I don't know if staying with him is the right thing for both of us. I know it is the right thing for me. I know that I truly want to be with him for the rest of my life. He is everything that I want. I know that I took him and what he gave me for granted. I know that I had a great life with him. I was a selfish person who wanted more and more. I was in that messed up fog and thought he would never find out. He would never be hurt by it. I was committed to my own feelings. It's not about having no man in my life. It's about not having my husband in my life. It will suck financially. It will suck being lonely. I don't deny that. But those are things that I can manage through. Being without him, I think that's something that I can't manage. He is the person that I want to grow old with. I know. How can that be if you were involved with someone else? And no, I don't want to rip my daughter's life apart. She will now have to live in 2 different apartments. She will only get to see one parent on certain days. She will see at least one parent being extremely sad most of the time. She might grow up wondering if it was her fault, even though I will assure her it wasn't. All my doing, I know that. Yes, I did say that I thought I loved my AP, but if that were true, then wouldn't I be missing him? Wouldn't I be thinking about him? Wouldn't I have good thoughts about him? Because I don't do any of those. I don't want to be with him. I hate having to think about him. When I do have to think about him, it is nothing but negative feelings and thoughts about the both of us. I never saw it as an exit affair. I never wanted to leave my husband. I was a selfish cake eater. I had 2 men that wanted me. I was in it for myself. I was only thinking about myself. If AP had said, "Let's run away together," I would have told him he's crazy, that I would never leave my husband for him, and I would have walked away. I never wanted to leave my husband. My husband is the right man for me, but I'm not the right woman for him. I know I need to let him go. I just can't. I can't let go of that hope that he can be happy with me again. I know I don't have a choice. He wants a divorce. He wants to see if there is someone better, someone who actually deserves him. As much as it sucks and hurts, I know I can't keep begging him to choose me. He does deserve to be happy. He does deserve to be with someone who deserves him. I hoped that could be me, but I don't think